All right, so today I got a pretty cool little project here. A buddy of mine has purchased a house here in the town that we live in, and this house is now well over 100 years old, and he's going to be restoring it, if you will, remodeling. It's going to be something that his daughter is going to be living in. So we got some stuff to do over there. We'll get over there in a minute and check that out. Take a look at some of this old style. It's pretty cool. I really like this these old style looking houses. I can't imagine them building them back in the day, and you know what they must have looked like. I mean, here you get a good shot of some of the old school roof style, rounded roof. Now most of these houses have been remodeled. There are a few that have not been touched, but most of them all have been remodeled by owners or previous owners or whatever. There's a couple down here especially, and I've done some work on a couple of these. This one here being one of them, and I thought it's really cool if you just look at that. I mean, this is just a good taste of some of the original architecture. It's pretty crazy. All right, our destination is right down the street right here, and we're gonna take a look at this house. All right, so it is the second one in. It's that one right there with the green roof. You can tell, you know, this got like that Scandinavian style architecture to it. Let's go in and we'll take a closer look. All right, so he is in the process of remodeling the front house right here. But before that they, you know, get working on the front house, the unique thing about this property is it's got a really big garage in the back. And for us, of course, that's always the best thing, is to have a really big garage. Let me see if we can get back here. Take a look here. They're remodeling the back garage first, and there's a little, like a room off to the side, might be a little a guest room or something like that. Let's see, they're stuck in right now. Let's see if we can work our way around out to the front right here. I'm kind of fat. I don't know if I can get by here. It looks like I might be able to. You know, the stucco guys are getting their stucco up right now, and got all the scaffolding set aside. But let's just go in the garage, the front of the garage, to take a closer look at this. All right, so here it is, and this thing is pretty cool. He's got it almost all complete right now. You can see that years ago, this was part of what the guy had going on here before. That's a hoist right here, and at one time that hoist, I believe, came across the front here, and then it made a turn and actually went out the back. Now I'm not really certain what that was used for. The guy was some sort of a fabricator, and that's how he got his material in, was from this alley through this big door, and then rolled it in, did the work. I'm assuming rolled it out there for painting or something, and then rolled it out. But anyways, this has since been remodeled, and I think this is pretty cool that they hung on to this piece right here and kind of restored it a little bit, and got it left in here for some sort of like memorabilia. It's pretty cool. Anyways, the job at hand here today is this loft up above. They're going to be using this for some storage, and so the job is to get a handrail that goes across the front edge of this, and then on this side over here we're going to make a ladder that comes down. That ladder is going to be about 2 feet wide, but the key is he doesn't want it to go past this light switch. So this is going to be a fairly steep ladder. Gonna maybe be just a foot or so off the wall, maybe 18 inches off the wall by the time it starts working its way up and attaches to the handrail that's gonna go across. So I'm gonna go ahead and take some measurements, and we'll take this thing back to the shop and get this thing fabricated. Let's do it. All right, so a quick run to the metal supply store to pick up the material that I needed for this project. And I had these things cut. Usually I have them cut in half, but this
particular piece, I needed one at least 17 feet long, and that's what I've got here. You can see me running it across my welding table and onto my cutting table here. I just need to cut a piece of 45 off at the end, get the right length here. I'm just going to swing it around and get it in there and cut the right length. This is the only one I need this long. The rest of them are going to, we're going to have rails in them and posts, so we'll have the shorter pieces there. Just making the adjustment from the 45 to the 90 degree right here, and then I'd had enough of that, so I decided I was just going to get the Evolution. I got a smaller saw right here, and I thought I would just anchor it down to my old welding table and just run these long pieces in across the table and make all the cuts I needed. Yeah, it worked out pretty good. All right, well, I had enough of that, so I'm back over at the Slugger, and it just cuts a lot better with this Steel Thunder blade on it, the 14-incher here. And I just had to get all the small miscellaneous pieces. Once I had them trimmed to size, I could get in there and just do all the cuts I needed and cut them to the right length and get the right angles put on them. All right, so I'm over here at the welding table, and the first thing I need to do is get these rails with these feet or bases welded on them. And these are just 4-inch square plates. Got some holes that are pre-drilled in them for anchoring, and you might see that I've got this thing anchored off to the side, not in the center of the plate. That's because I want to get this rail close to the side of the loft right there, and so I wanted to have most of it, the anchoring to the inside of the loft. Not much to it, just welding it all the way around. Doesn't really take too much. Everything stays relatively flat, which is good. We're operating off the new HTP ProPulse 220 MTS here. This is a multi-purpose machine. I'm using the MIG mode here on this particular project, although I have used all of the other processes and there's been no issues. The thing seems to work really well. All right, so I'm just trying to get the first panel here nice and square to the table and clamp down. This is a good way to go. I've mentioned this before. Before I had this table, to make something like this was just really difficult. But now with this table perfectly flat and the right tools here, you can see I've got fireball squares I'm using in the corners to keep everything nice and square. And then I've got all the armor clamps holding everything together. Almost all armor clamps. I don't quite have enough to get the whole thing done. But you get the point there. Everything is nice and flat and anchored down. It's not going anywhere, and it's a good way to get everything nice and tacked, and nothing's going to move around on you. And once I got that done, then it was time to go ahead and finish welding these things out. Working with a smaller section like this, just able to flip things around and get it moved around is it's a good way to go. You see the long leg is out the back right there. It's resting on my other table, and that was the beauty that I had done when I put this welding table in. I kept all my workbench, my old welding table, my workbench, and this table all at the same elevations, just for long pieces of material to lay in there to work on, such as this. So I'm decided to go ahead and grind some of the welds down as I go right here, just to make things a little bit easier and manageable while I can. And then I'll just piece the rest of it together. Using the same process, fireball squares, armor clamps, everything's nice and square. We're going to tack this section in right here. So ultimately, after all of that, we got the frame all complete right there, and that's what that looks like. And then it's time to start getting the pickets on. All right, so for the pickets, you can see I've got them stacked in there. We're cutting 6 at a time. This is 5/8 square tube, both 6/3. And, cutting 6 at a time with the Slugger and the Steel Thunder by Mercer. Have no problems at all cutting through this. The beauty about having a saw like this is the cutting ability. It cuts everything like butter. The disadvantage is it just fires chips all over the place. Even though it's got a chip catcher there in the back, that catches about 20% of what really flies around. And that's the only disadvantage of having a saw like this. But hey, if that's all it is, it's good. It cuts everything like butter. All right, so we're just spacing them in here. And I'm just using some 2x4s right here to get some space. And you can see I've got them marked at 4 inches, and that's what I'm just using right here. I got several different block gauges for different widths. So we're going to go ahead and start at this one right here. And it seemed to be appropriate for what I was doing. Just spacing them in and just tacking them in place like this. One thing you gotta watch out for here when you're doing something like this is it's not always going to work out perfect by the time you get to the end. So somewhere about in here, you got to just start measuring and be sure that it's going to line up the way you're hoping it's going to line up. Sometimes you have to tighten those gaps. Sometimes you have to open them up. In this case right here, I'm needing to open them up just slightly here, somewhere around 1/4 of an inch in order to make it up for that. And you know, when you get the difference, let's just say 4 to 4 1/4. You're not really seeing that distance. I do want to point out that there are a couple of code rules and regulations in here in California. You're not supposed to exceed 4 inches. But that's commercial industrial. This is private work. I'm not too worried about it here in this situation. So it's the same thing, just moving right along here. This is the tedious part of the deal, and is just getting these things welded in. You know, it's a shorter rail, so it's easy for me to get to both sides. And I can imagine if it was a 6-foot fence rail, you know, I'd have to be going from one side, jumping to the other side, going to the other side. It would be a lot more difficult. But this is I'm able to get them from one side of the table. It works out pretty good. The other thing you might see me doing there is checking for square. I'm telling you what, I learned the hard way here. At one time, I built a couple panels early on a few years ago, and I started welding. I thought everything was square, and by the time I got to the end, I was about 2 inches off. Things were all leaning to the side. I had to redo the panel. So it's really important to get you a big square, and about every other picket, checking for square, they definitely get out. They start wandering. Once they start wandering, they really start going fast. So everything is clamped down nice and straight here, and there's no chance of anything warping, and so that's a good thing. This is just the front side of this right here, and you see I'm actually running it past the outside of my my welding table here. I've got it propped up with a stand on the outside right here just to finish this up. You can see how that works out for me being able to weld both the bottom and the top rail, being this is only about 34 inches, so I'm able to just get over there and do it. But once this part of it's done, hey, you got the frame done and everything is tacked into place, and you're not going to have any kind of movement, and it's going to work out hopefully pretty good as you're moving along here welding the rest of them out. To do that, we're going to be standing this up on end right here. I think that's the best way. Before I would have flipped the thing all the way over and welded the bottom side and then stood up, and but I figured out right here that me standing up and clamping it down is the best way. All right, you see me working with the new Century Air fume extractor right here. This is where it comes in real handy. Making some longer welds, we're creating a lot of smoke right here. The tacks wasn't too much, but this is, we're going on 3 sides here, and this is quite a bit of welding going on here. So you can see I've got the little 6-foot, I believe it is, extension. I believe it maybe stretches to 8, and that's pretty good for close stuff. But then I put on this Python tube, and I believe this thing stretches 10 to 12 feet, and that's ideal for me. Got a real strong magnet on the bottom side. You can see I've got that thing set up to where as I'm welding, I just slide that thing along until it doesn't reach anymore. And in this case, I just moved this thing. It's mobile, and I just moved it right to the center of my table, and I got all this flexibility to go anywhere now. It's just really handy, a good addition to the shop right here for me. You can see this creating literally no fumes at all. You don't see any of it. It's getting sucked right in. That is huge. A lot of guys I've talked to say, oh, those things, you got to be careful. They suck the gas right off the weld, and you can't get good welds. Well, I haven't had any problems at all with this whatsoever, and it is working really well. Not inconvenient at all, to me anyway. Just being able to move this thing and move it along. Something like this where you got a lot of welds and you're just stacking them in. Yeah, I can only get 2 or 3 at a time before I need to move it. But you can see it's got a wide mouth on the end of the tube right there, and I able to get a lot of coverage with it. Not to mention that quiet it is. It's unbelievable how quiet it is. And I'm operating, it is variable speed. And I've got this set on about a medium speed. I was able to test it at low speed and high speed, and it seemed to work really well. And around the medium range right here, it just does everything it needs to do for me anyway. Yeah, so you can see that, I'm just doing all the welding from overhead. I'll be able to catch all three sides with this thing standing up. So just one movement from when I initially started putting the pickets on and then standing up, I should be able to get all the welding done in one shot with this thing standing up like this. All right, so there it is. We got it all done. This is about all the time I have for in part 1 of this video. Stay tuned for part 2 where we get this thing all finished up and get it installed. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video.
See you next time on Jimbo's Garage.